Hi and welcome to Fly Tying Step by Step. Today we will be tying a detached body Mayfly. This is a derived fly and it will consist of two parts. The first part is in constructing the body, and for the body you will need the following materials: some moose mane hair and then some dry fly dubbing. I'm using blue water flies. They've got a range of colors and it's really great material. So to get started in constructing this body, you will need a normal sewing needle in your vise. What I've done was I just bent it over. Let me just see if I can get that properly. Yeah, I bent it over just so that I can secure it easier in the vise. And this technique works great on a rotary vise. If you don't have a rotary vise, you can still do this, but it's just easy on a rotary vise, and this Knorr vise that I'm using is superb for this application. If you are interested in buying a Knorr vise in South Africa, you are welcome to contact me. So let's get started. I'm just going to put a dab of wax on my needle. I'm using a light olive dabbing for this tail construction. So a little bit of dabbing, just attach it to your needle and the wax will grab onto it, and then you can start dressing the needle. You will see that I'm dressing the needle all the way to the tip, and that is to create a nice tapered body. So you can add a little bit as you go along. You just want to cover the shininess of your needle, because you're going to need this body base for your mane hair from the moose. So I'm just using my finger, I'm just flattening the dabbing, making it a nice even body. Then I will add my 3 strands of moose mane hair. Now this is not necessary for 3, you can use 2, you can use more, but a mayfly usually has 3 tails, so let's see if we can stick with that. Fish can't count, but it looks nice for the fishermen. So okay, I'm just taking another piece of dabbing and I'm just going to start it on my needle, and then I will add my tail. So I'm just wrapping a few fibers over the tail materials, that's the moose. Now I'm just securing it very lightly onto that needle. So now I can position it onto the needle so it's nice and straight. It just helps with your taper. And now I will come in with my dabbing and add more as I go along. So we can build a taper here. I'm making quite long bodies for the simple reason I can always trim it shorter if I'm using a smaller hook size, and it just makes it easier to handle as well. Just add a little bit of dabbing to the back still, just to create that body in a nice taper shape, and that's about it. So again, I'm using my finger and I'm just applying light pressure on it so that I can smooth it out, and I can work this dabbing all the way to the tip of the needle. You might have some dabbing going over the tail material, but you can just work it back with your fingers. Smooth out that body. As soon as the body is to your liking, you can just take a little bit of head cement. I prefer the water-based head cement, and just apply it to the body all the way again from the tip right through. And again, I'm just going to work that in with my finger, making sure that the material is saturated but not oversaturated. So you can immediately see where you missed some spots because the color will differ. The darker pieces will be the ones covered with the head cement, and the lighter parts will be those still in need of a bit of head cement. So I've got too much on this body, but it's not an issue. All I will do is I'll just rotate it on my finger, work it in, and whatever is extra, and if you can see it there, I'm just taking that off with my finger, discarding of it. And there you have it, your body fully constructed. So this of course needs to dry out, and we need to take it off the needle. So I'm just going to push from the base, and it will slide off. Just do it slowly, you don't want to malhandle it. And then you can shape your body to the shape that you prefer. Remember, when you push it off like that, it is crinkled and it will move and adjust, but you can shape it to roughly what you want it and just leave it out to dry. Doesn't take that long to dry, but you need some time for that. That's the first part of this fly. We're going to remove the needle, and now we'll start with the tying process of the actual dry fly. In the vise I've got a size 12 scud hook. You can tie this on any size that you are comfortable with and that represents your naturals that you find on your water. I'm just using a size 12 so you can also see exactly how that is done. And now we will start with our thread base. So as usual, lay a thread base. I'm taking it all the way up to the point of the hook. That's about halfway of your shank. Take a few wraps back just to secure that trimmed part. And here I've got a tail that I already manufactured, also in the light olive. So it's a bit stiff, but it floats superbly. Of course, none of the dubbing can absorb any water. I'll just check that there's not too much rancid fibers from the dubbing and just pull them out if need be, but that's fine. Okay, so we are going to secure this body to the hook shank right on top. What you can do, let me just show you this trick. This body is round, so it tends to rotate on your hook shank. So just take your fingers and just flatten it with your fingers so you get a flat base on that body, and that will help you in securing it. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. And I am happy with that length. So a few extra wraps to secure it, and then I will advance my thread to the eye of the hook, making tighter turns just to lock it in. And as soon as that is done, you can trim the rest of the body material that you're not going to use. And you will see it tapers out nicely. Okay, that is properly secured. Now for the body, I'm going to use the same dubbing. You can use a darker dubbing if you prefer, or a little bit of flash that you want to work in. That is up to you, but I'm going to keep this quite natural. So I'm going to cover my thread wraps, take one turn just below the body so that I can just prop up that tail. With that done, I'll advance my body to roughly halfway between the point of the hook and the eye of the hook. I'm going to take away the excess material. Lock that in, and now we will do our wing. For the wing, I'm using a dark olive deer hair. You don't need too much of this. It's very buoyant, this fly. It's very light. It lands beautifully on the water. Doesn't create huge splashes. So I'm just going to trim out. And then you want to comb out those deer hair so you can get rid of the underfur, or the fluff as it's also called. And I will stack with these to align the tips. With the tips aligned, you can just check if there's any short hair that you want to get rid of. So my wing, I'm going to look at roughly 1.5 times the length from my eye to the furthest bend, part of the bend of the hook. Roughly 1.5 times 1.25. Now I'm going to keep them between my fingers, 2 loose wraps over them, pull up on the deer so that it stays on top of the hook shank, and then apply some pressure, add wraps, and as you add the wraps you can advance to the eye of the hook, increasing the pressure so that you lock in all those fibers. When that's done, you can let go of your wing. So I'm just going to trim out these butt sections that we are not going to use. Okay, with that done, we can add our hackle. I prefer tying in the feather with the shiny side down, so the inside of the feather, or the bottom of the feather, is the dull side that's pointing upwards. And what I also do is I just trim out, pull off a few extra fibers on the inside. I'm going to tie it in like that, and this just helps me to get my first few wraps nice and flat. So with that done, I'm just going to secure my stem, and I'm using this as an opportunity to just clean up some more of that deer hip pieces. So this wing I'm going to pull up and make my wraps with my hackle underneath it. You're looking for about 4 or 5 wraps. This will splay out your deer hair a little bit. If you want, you can add some extra wraps. Okay, I think I've already exceeded my 5 wraps, but that's okay. Now I will just work my thread through, crossing my hackle, work it through so that I trap as little as possible of these fibers. I'll take one wrap around the wing case, just to ensure that those fibers are properly secured. And I'll come in with my scissors. I don't cut, I just make a little V in my scissors and just push. If you do it that way, the chances of you cutting some of the other fibers that you didn't intend to cut is much less. I will add some dabbing just to clean up the body, and I'm also going to comb it out a little bit or brush it out just so that I can create the impression of legs. It's not necessary. So pull back on those hackle fibers. Just form a nice thorax and then a nice thread head. Whip finish. I know some people don't prefer adding head cement to the dry flies. This fly is quite buoyant, so I don't think it will hamper your drift in any way or your flotation, but I'll just do a whip finish twice and just make sure that that's properly tied down, and then I'll come in with my Velcro and just brush out a bit of that dabbing. As I say, this is not necessary, it's all up to you. Pull back my wing, seeing that I've mal-handled it. So just pull it forward, get it back in position, prop up that tail, and there you have it, your detached body Mayfly. As I say, it's not difficult. The body is actually very easy to construct, but this fly floats very, very well, quite durable, and a good dry fly to have in your box. I hope you've enjoyed this video from Fly Tying Step by Step. If you did, you're welcome to subscribe to our channel. Also, you can follow our Facebook page. We will post some patterns there and also notify you there as soon as we have uploaded new videos. Thank you for watching again. Enjoy your fly fishing and your fly tying. Bye.